Hello, my name is John Hawley, and I am principal at the Center for Math and Science in Rock Island, Illinois.
I'm Ian Scott, principal at Thomas Jefferson in Milan, Illinois, and we are your MyRock podcast hosts.
MyRock celebrates what makes RIMSD 41 thrive. Each episode shares inspiring stories and insights from behind the scenes, sharing the heart of our schools.
The podcast also supports our 2030 strategic plan by fostering connections, building relationships, and strengthening communication within our district and our community.
Thank you to all the listeners who've joined us tonight. And remember to share, like, and subscribe where you get your podcasts.
If you're feeling generous, give us 5 stars, tell a friend, give us a listen.
Good afternoon and welcome to the MyRock podcast. And my name is John Hawley, and I am principal at the Center for Math and Science.
I'm J.D. Wilson. I am the principal at Ridgewood Elementary School. And I am stepping in for the famous Ian Scott.
Well, how are you feeling? This is the first time you're first guest host we've had, J.D. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Just trying to slow the breathing down a little bit, but definitely excited.
Yeah, well, you were the episode that you were in, you just provided such good material for all of our teachers. You just think about, this is a great profession, and we work in a great district, and great things are happening. So absolutely. I'm excited you're here. And,
thank you.
And we have episode 9 here. Korah comes to us from the Academy. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about how you got to the position that you're in here in Rock Island.
Yeah. Well, my name is Korah Winn Romkey, and I've been at Rock Island Academy now for 16 years. So that's been a lot of years to be there. And I love the people. Like at the Academy, we've got just a great team. Couldn't ask for more dedicated, loving teachers. And so I count my blessings every day for that. And then the kids, I feel like I get to be in the heart of where I want to be. I happen to work as a newcomer language learner teacher. And so we've changed over our name. We're now multilingual learners, teachers instead of EL. And so we're still transitioning to the new name. But that's where I want to be. I love being on the front lines of helping kids make that transition of, okay, I know this entire language or maybe 2 other languages, and now I need to add the second or third language, or sometimes for some of them, it's their 4th language that they're learning. And to get to be there as they're pulling the meaning all together and making those connections, that's what I live for. It's been really special.
That's fantastic. So help us out. So you came here 16 years ago, and you obviously have a passion for what you do, and you have a passion for teaching kids. So where did that start? And then tell us about your life leading up to even coming here. How did you become a teacher?
I am not originally from the Quad Cities, and so it was teaching that brought me to this area. The position, of course, there's a lot more language learners like right in the Quad Cities because of World Relief bringing in a lot of people. And so I ended up coming into the position in kind of a half-year time. I started in January of the 2009-10 school year, and it was where someone had ended up leaving the position, and here I was coming in with a master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages. I had lived in Mexico for a year thinking, I'm going to speak Spanish and work with kids who speak Spanish. Well, actually, Swahili is the main language that we work with now, so I'm working on my Swahili, improving that. But it was a good experience. Like some of the things I did before coming here is I did work down in Mexico for a little bit, working at a bilingual school down there, and just kind of getting some time working in bilingual education. Although I'm basically only working with multilingual learners and not a bilingual position at this point. But before that, I lived in Mexico for about a year because I wanted to acquire Spanish as much as you can in 1 year. Like I'm still to this day learning more and more Spanish. People sometimes say, oh, how do you say this? And I was working with the nurse one time, and she was asking about chicken pox. And I was like, I didn't really run into chicken pox when I was living in Mexico, so I don't know what it is. But since then, I've learned varicella, which is more the Latin term for it anyway. So it's amazing when you're acquiring a language; it just takes a while.
Hmm.
And before that, then I was so I was in Mexico, and then I moved on to Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I went to a place called Queen's University, and it was a fantastic experience. That's where I did all of my coursework for TESOL, Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. And from there, then I came back to the United States, worked on my master's thesis, turned it in. It was like, whew, and everything's kind of tied up nicely since then. And shout out to Rotary. They were the ones who, District 6420, which is our district here, they supported me and believed in me and gave me a scholarship to be able to go to Belfast, Northern Ireland to work on my master's degree. And they really were transformational in my life to help me. So I really have a great heart for Rotary, all the good things that they're doing in our whole district, and just the volunteer heart. They're good people.
Absolutely. And so to that point, what are some of the things that, that's a great variety of experiences. What are some of the things that you bring into your profession now that benefits kids?
One thing that I think is massive as a language learner teacher, multilingual teacher, and just in general for teachers, you have to show the children that you're still willing to learn. If you come in and have this attitude of, I got this, like, I'm the teacher, you're the student, that nowadays it doesn't work because, with AI, we have a million more things to learn as teachers to stay on top of things. I'm constantly amazed at the potential of it, and also the things I need to be aware of, to be careful for, to protect children. And if I'm not willing to be constantly learning that, then I'm falling behind. And so I really try as a teacher to keep that humility of heart of no one person can know everything. And so we have to consistently keep learning so that the children will even respect you, and that, oh, you're willing to learn this, or maybe even be a fool. I'll have them help me pronounce things help me, misadie. I just help me out here. And the kids love when I start trying to communicate in their language, because then it gives them a place of, I have something to offer my teacher. Everybody has something to give. And when you allow the students to feel like they can help you, I think it opens the door for them to be more open to you helping them.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So a bit of being vulnerable in a way.
Yeah, there has to be
Absolutely.
that vulnerability as a teacher.
Awesome.
So I'm curious because I'm a language guy too.
Yeah.
I used to be a Spanish teacher,
Okay.
and I get the we don't know all the vocabulary students want. I still remember I was high school teacher, and students would work at restaurants here across the Quad Cities, and they'd come back and ask me, what does this mean? Somebody was working there and they said this. I said, well, the slang I know is from Spain in the 80s.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means today.
Exactly.
But I'm curious as to how did, obviously you have a love for travel and different cultures, language, and teaching. How did this all come together? Was it, I'm going to go travel the world, and then all of a sudden that came, I want to be a teacher, or was it, I want to be a teacher and this is my avenue? How does that all blend?
Circuitous path. But it does have kind of an initial seed. I remember as a child, I would say 8 years old at the time, I remember going for a Christmas gathering with some of my family members. And I don't know, brains firing extra. And I remember going to bed that night thinking, God, what do you want me to be when I grow up? And just laying there and all these different things careers running through my brain. And all of a sudden it was like it stopped, and a teacher. And I was like, great, I'm going to be a teacher. So I got up in the morning, run down, tell my mom and grandma, I'm going to be a teacher. And so then you get a little older and you're like, yeah. So I was just a little kid. And so I what do I really want to be now? And so for a while I thought I wanted to be a writer. For a while I thought I'd like to go into law and help people through that. So I actually moved to Springfield during my senior year of high school, the fall semester, and I worked for the Office of the State Appellate Defender. And so that was a really great experience. And I believe very strongly in internships because they help you see if you want to do something or if you don't. And I saw there was a lot more sitting in your office and with the law instead of like being in front of the jury and helping. And I am more of I want to be hands-on. And so I knew I didn't want to go into law. For a while, I thought maybe lobbying. And then I did an internship out in Washington, D.C. And I thought, this isn't where I want to be either. Not exactly. A very cool environment, but it was very work-oriented as far as that was the be-all, end-all. And I'm a family person, and I didn't see that there was balance in Washington, D.C. And so it was actually, I traveled with a Christian drama company and went across the United States and saw how people lived in a lot of different parts of the country. And that opened up my eyes to, being in rural Kansas and waking up in a home that had wood heat and it was freezing, and seeing how they lived, or seeing how doctors in Kentucky lived. It was just mind blowing, going all these different parts of the states. And I ended up in like around 2000 in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was working at a girls' home, and it was called Mercy Ministries, and it's changed its name to Mercy Multiplied. And it was there, they would take in girls from like 13 to 28 and help them they'd had some struggles in life, maybe some abuse, and just help give them a second chance to get on their feet. And I realized, wow, actually, I think I'm supposed to be a teacher. And so here I was, time had passed. I'd gotten an associate's degree at community college, which I'm very pro community college to make it feasible financially for people to do things. Because a lot of things I've been able to do in life was because I worked my way through school, and I was able to live meager and be able to have cool experiences. So I came around to teaching, and I was like, I was helping girls, and I thought I would like to help in a different way. And then the language aspect of it, I knew I always wanted to learn another language. And so when I was a child, I remember asking my mom, I'd like to learn Spanish. So she got me one book and one lesson with a teacher, and I didn't go too far with that. So it was really like I did a little, like 2 classes in high school and then a class in community college. And I pretty much moved to Mexico.
Holy cow.
Like when I was 24, after I went to Eastern Illinois University and did my teacher prep courses. Right. And then I tacked on basically another year of school to do a full immersion experience. And so I moved down to Puerto Vallarta, which has been in the news recently. But I had a great experience when I was there.
I like Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, it was wonderful when I was there, wonderful. So I was there for the initial, I had some support system, like a friend of a friend was there and kind of helped me out. But it was about 4 months before I could have that initial, I went into a papeleria, and I was talking to the shopkeeper, kind of broke it, and I got the sense she's telling me she has a son, and her son wants a partner for practicing English. And it was like my first, I'm having a conversation in Spanish, and I'm not completely out of it. And so from there, it just got easier and easier and easier. And I stayed then and moved on to Guadalajara. In Guadalajara, it was a lot more of an unmoored experience because I didn't have as much of a foundational help there. But it was very empowering. You think, okay, I'm doing it. I'm living in a foreign country where I don't speak the language completely, but I wanted that sense of empathy. How does it feel when you move to another country and you can't use communication to fix all your problems anymore? You have to really begin to think very creatively. And I've been able to take that skill set and pull it into teaching. And so sometimes I'll hit a wall with something and just try to think outside of the box. And I feel it's those neurons that kind of fired during that time that has really helped me a lot. And I hold on to that phrase when people say an accent is a sign of bravery, because it's a lot easier to just stay in a bubble and be safe, but to go out and put yourself out there and not have all the answers. It's scary, but it's so powerful. And I feel like I have something to offer my students, because I know how scary it is to try something out and you're like, what if I'm going to sound stupid when I say it? No hay problema. It's no problem. Just give it a try. It's okay.
That's a great way to relate. It's a great way to empathize with students and be able to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, little phrase I'll teach you all. Mr. Baraka, one of the paraprofessionals at our school from a long time ago, he's a really good guy, and he taught me, don't say Hakuna Matata, say Hakuna Shida. And it just means no trouble. So instead of saying don't worry, Hakuna Shida. Hakuna Shida. Yep. So that's your little
We-
phrase. I'll check on you.
We have a
Kunashita.
principals meeting tomorrow. We
Kunashita.
love saying that.
Hakuna
Kunashita.
Shida.
Kunashita, that's good. That's good. So, okay, I want to come back to you. So, you are really trained in Spanish.
Yeah.
And 16 years ago, you come to this city of Rock Island, Illinois,
Mhm.
which you're thinking it's Midwest. This would just be a bunch of Spanish speakers. We've got Swahili and Dari and Korean. What kind of a challenge was that for you, and how were you able to manage those first few years with all new languages?
All new languages. So, I was expecting to be a maestra in Espanol, but I turned out to be a feramu in Korean and mwalimu in Swahili. And so I started learning more languages, more words. Whether it be asante in Swahili or tabu in Korean, I'm just trying to learn words that will connect with the kids. And so put myself out there, and then the acting actually did come into play. Because as a teacher, I really had to put myself out there and act a lot of things out. And so we do a lot of total physical response, visuals. I did not have, this is aging myself. A lot of the classrooms, very few had screens and projectors when I first came into the district. And I remember begging, please, anything to get a projector. And they got me a projector. And so I was able to start showing the visuals and acting things out. And so it was a lot of using those kind of techniques because I didn't have the language support initially that I wanted to bring in. But it worked. And I'm actually coming full circle now in my career where kids that I knew in my first year of teaching are now becoming teachers. And so I was able to actually go, there's a church in Milan, not far from here, that I was invited back. One of my students, she said, a lot of us go over here. Do you want to come and visit? And I was able to go. And there was just a whole big group of them. The pastor's wife there took a picture of all of us. And just I sent the picture to my husband. And I said, this is it. It's really happening. All this time that you pour into the lives of kids. And they're grateful, and they're adults, and now they're having kids, and you see their lives going so well, and it's just wow, this is why I became a teacher.
Payback.
It's the payback. And kids coming back to Rock Island Academy. I have a couple now each year. Just one a couple weeks ago that he was like, hey, I'm doing really great. And I took a picture, and I had a picture of when he was shorter than me in third grade. And now he's this tall and a senior in high school. And I'm like, oh, it's so good to see you. And so that kind of stuff, that's the payoff. That's what makes teaching worth it, because I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, teaching, cakewalk, whatever, because I'd be a liar. But it's worth it because you see lives transformed. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm getting to see that payoff of the kids now. And it's really precious to me, and it touches my heart.
And so it's a labor of love,
It
right?
is.
And so it's hard to leave one and the other. So how would you say that some of that feeling that you get in the professional life leaks into your personal life?
I think it keeps you going on the days that are hard. Maybe a lesson doesn't go exactly the way you want it to, where maybe there's something going on with the kids where it's a little bit harder to focus, and you have to be a lot more assertive that day and a lot more intense than you would prefer to be, keeping it light and jovial. But I think I'm able to take the positives back home and be like, all right, look at these pictures. Even though there's certain days that are harder than others, look what the impact is. Look at the harvest, not just the cutting weeds back.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But Korah, I can see that you invest a lot of yourself in your kids, and we know that in our society today, kids have some tough situations, and especially the kids that you're working with that are with World Relief and have left other countries to come to this place they've never heard of and know nothing about. I'm sure you are pouring your heart and soul into them. So, and I know we have a lot of teachers here in Rock Island that do that. And I'd like you to speak to how do you deal with that, because it's also can be really hard on your heart in some of those cases. So from a personal standpoint, how do you handle all that? How do you keep going and keep your passion?
Team is huge. Like I know I mentioned at the academy, it's fantastic as far as the people that work there. I can go down the hallway and there's person after person. I can pop into the room and be like, hey, this person who came 6 months ago, look at how they're like starting to decode this word or that, and they'll celebrate with you. The ML team at my school we got Miss Shira Williams, we got Deb Noble, we've got Tara Parr and Isabel Beber. They're such great ladies. And like, if I do ever, like, I wouldn't lie, there are days I get down, like anybody does. And they're there to they lift me up. I can't speak highly enough of them. My principal, Dr. Ryan, I see him and Olivia working so hard. Like, there's days where I'm leaving like really late and I see their cars out there too. And I know I'm putting in the time, they're putting in the time as the leaders. And so the team for me is a big part of it. I don't think I could do it if I were just on my own. It was just like, oh, you're your tutor, come in. I think you'd kind of get tired out day in, day out. But knowing that you've got people to lift you up when you slip a little bit, that makes a difference for me.
Yeah. And people who may see you before they speak to you, everyone's got a story.
Right.
But there is so much to your story. What are some of the things that you're most proud of all those experiences throughout your career?
Oh, man. I mean, I hate to come back to it since I went so long on it, but the kids coming back and like having the one who was a kindergartner say, I want to become the ML teacher, and she's going to be actually finishing up her student teaching, I think, in December this fall, and knowing that she's going to be taking the torch forward, and that she's got the experience of being a refugee and knows what it is and being able to pour into the kids' lives. For me, that's the biggest thing in the world. So I'm harping on it, but that's just huge to me to see, like, wow, it's really happening. Or, people starting to go into careers in the medical field, or it's just amazing seeing where they're going after they graduate.
Right. So that takes us into that engagement piece.
Yeah.
And so going into the daily grind.
Yeah.
So some of those things you do when that level one student comes in and they don't know hello.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some ways? I know you mentioned pictures and everything. What are some other things that you might do to connect with those students?
Okay, for the connection part, I'm huge on, especially if we have the families that come in through orientation, getting a recording of the parents saying the exact way that they pronounce their child's name, because names are hugely important. And we see it happen sometimes where people will look at how a name is written phonetically and be like, oh, this is how I say it. Like I have a student, I want to be respectful of privacy, but their name looks absolutely nothing like it's pronounced. And so being able to like make a recording, find out how is it pronounced, and then actually write it phonetically on a name card. I can't do it for all kids because sometimes we just don't get to meet the parents when they come in. But if it's feasible, I try to do that. So that way they've got that little name placard and the teacher can see on the one side, this is how it's pronounced phonetically, and then the child can see how it's supposed to be written so that they aren't going to run into issues later on with, I spell my name incorrectly. But when you say someone's name the correct way, it creates that sense of connection from the beginning. Yeah. A story I can tell that's not kid related was I ended up, when I was in college, I even remember something as small as I had a professor who was from Hungary, and his name was Istvan, and it looks like Istvan. And I just remember him just being like, you took the time to actually find and pronounce my name the right way. It's that kind of attitude that I see from the children when they're like, oh, someone knows I say my name with an O sound, not an ah. And because like Swahili is a really easy language to learn, especially if you have Spanish as a background. because all the vowels are similar and a, e, o, u. And so it's not too hard to learn how to say the kid's name, or even teachers can just take a little cell phone and be like, hey, how do you say the name? Because what I notice sometimes is if we can record it and practice it, then they feel like, oh, they get it, and I'm not having to fight to have myself recognized. And then it also prevents us from having to ask them 9 times, hey, how do you say your name? Hey, how do you say your name? So just record it right at the beginning when they first come in. Because I've had kids who actually have changed the way they said their name was pronounced because I think they just wanted to make it easier on the adults in their life. And that's not fair on them. Like, they shouldn't have to take that burden and that bullet of, well, they can't say my name, so I'll just give them something easier. Yeah, that's what I want to be called. No, like, try to learn their name if at all possible.
Amen. I think my first year here, we had a student who had anglicized his name, and he said, well, you can just call me this. And I said, no, I want to pronounce your name correctly. How would I do it? He says, no, everybody just calls me this.
He wanted to just give you the easy out.
No, but I finally got him to tell me, and then I'll never forget, like in our school where they come up the circle, I was on one side, he was walking out with his dad, and I yelled his name, and as well as I could pronounce it. And his dad, I'll never forget it. He just looked like, here's somebody trying to pronounce the name. To think that a little name like that is incredible. Well, we are coming to the end.
Yes.
And Korah, I feel like I could speak to you for hours. Like,
Same.
don't leave here. Let's go somewhere. And I want to learn more about all of your travels. Is there? I think people outside our profession really don't understand. Like, you can see when you almost started crying. Like, no paycheck in any job you get would ever replace that feeling that you have with these kids. Is there anything else you want to share as we close out our time together?
I'm grateful to be in education. It is difficult, but it's nice to make that impact. And I'm kind of in that place in my career where I've had my classroom for a lot of years, and like I'm finding that I'm even wanting to spread beyond that. I'm actually just trying to spread my wings a little bit and try to do some cool new things. I love doing professional development, and so I'm trying to incorporate more elements like that to challenge myself because I don't want to be stagnant. Like I love my classroom, but I want to grow even beyond it. So that's kind of like my exciting new thing that I'm hoping something cool will come with it.
It does.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to work with you for some years, and everything that you've said today is genuine, and I've seen it in action. I was very fortunate to have crossed paths with you and work with you. Hopefully we can work together again someday. Yeah, so love that. But just students are lucky to run into a Mrs. Winn Romkey. Everyone is not that fortunate, but they are fortunate enough to run into someone like you, someone who's going to pour into them and give them their all each and every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Because that's something nice to hold on to. Because there's days where you're like, oh, I know I'm not doing it all perfectly, but my heart is I want to do it right. And I always want to be a blessing to the kids. So thanks for seeing that.
Yeah, very evident. Very evident. Well, thank you for joining the My Rock podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button and share and subscribe. Until next time, this is John Hawley and
J.B. Wilson.
Great day.